Okay, in today's quick tip, I'm going to show you a small fairing scraper that I came up with that works on the same principle as a Stanley number 80 scraper plane. Right now, I'm working these lower hull side planks down to an existing varnished plank. I already did this side here, and you can see that you have to work this plank right down flush with the existing surface without hitting this. So when I install these planks, they're always a little bit proud here or there, and up front it's probably about 3/32 proud there, and then it's about a 1/16 or less from here back. So what I have to do is fair this plank down to meet this, and I like to do that by hand because the shape is pretty much already there on this plank, and I don't want to use a rotary sander or any kind of air or electric sander where I might dig a hole in there and then have to chase that by taking out material around it just to make it look good. So I like to work this down by hand, and to use this number 80 on the edge here, I don't really want to do that. It blocks my vision. I can't really see what I'm doing, and I wouldn't want to run this over and then run the risk of hitting this plank down here. So this is just a little bit too big and bulky for this detail work at the very edge of this plank. I worked the chine cap in with it up here, but I wanted to come up with something down here to where I could take material instead of just hand sanding with heavy grit to take that down. So I came up with this little, I call a fairing scraper, and I'm going to put the camera in a tripod and just show you how it works first, and then I'll take you over to the bench and show you how I built it. It's really simple, but it's effective. So right now I have to take this material down. Now I don't want to concentrate just on this bottom edge, you know, the 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch right along there. I want to kind of go from the middle of the plank down and taper this all in. So right now I'm just kind of, here's all these are the shavings that I've already come off of there, and I just want to show you how it works. The cool thing about this is when you're running across there, you're taking the material off evenly, and with a hand plane, I had my low angle block plane on here for a minute trying to take some material down, and it just wasn't cooperating. It was sticking on me, and if the grain doesn't cooperate, you end up taking chunks of wood out. So with this, you're always safe. It doesn't take chunks out. And right now I'm kind of just taking the bulk of the material down, and you can see all that comes off of there. Just with this little scraper plane, it does it, or scraper. And then once I get real close, then I can get right down here, and I'll concentrate on pulling this, you know, up away from this plank that I don't want to hit, instead of down this way. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working this down with this, and once I get really close to the surface, then I'll bring it home with little sanding blocks. You can see how that continues to cut, and what surprises me is how long this thing stays sharp. I can do a lot of cutting before I have to resharpen it. So I'll stop the camera, and I'll take you over to the bench and show you how I made this. All right? Okay, I'm going to start the camera up and just show you a close-up shot of how this scraper works along the edge here. I'm still about a 1/16 proud. I've been working it down a little bit, but it's working it down nice and even, and it's safe. It's not putting any gouges. It's actually real smooth. And it doesn't take long to bring it down. Now I'll get it, once I get it real close, I'll end up using sanding blocks. But as long as it's, you know, a 16th or a 32nd away, it makes sense to use this. It takes a lot of material fast. And it stays sharp long, you know, a long time. And I can kind of concentrate it right on that edge and bring that along. I can bring it back this way. So I'm almost down to the tape. So I just want to start up the camera and show you that close-up of that, all right? Okay, now I'm going to show you how I made this small fairing scraper. I needed to fair that plank down, that new hull side plank, to an existing varnish plank, and it was only about a 1/16 proud in most spots. And I knew that I didn't want to use this Stanley number 80. It's just too big, and I can't really see what I'm doing, and I didn't want to hit that varnish plank with this. This was just too big. So I remember that I had this little, it's kind of like a spoke shave, this little brass spoke shave, and the handles and the way the blade sits in, it's real similar to the Stanley number 80, except this works when you push it, just like a traditional plane with the blade pointing forward. But so I tried modifying this. I made a little plastic wedge for it, and to give it a little space against the sole there. I tried to make a miniature version of the Stanley number 80. I put a hook on this. It's already it was already sharpened or ground to 45 degrees, so I put that hook on it with a burnisher and put it back in here, put the wedge on it, and it just didn't work. And so then I took this, so I kind of gave up on it for a minute, and then I took this little blade with the hook on it, and I started running it across the wood, and it really cut well. So I thought, well, instead of just using your hands to hold it, I'll make a handle for it. And then I remembered that I had this Stanley Pro Prep, this scraper. I used a scraper for a few years. I really liked it until I started buying those Craftsman scrapers. These blades are kind of wore out on it, but it's got a real nice feel to it. It's a nice scraper. So I ended up putting, that's what this is here. This is a Pro Prep blade. So I put a blade in here. I sharpened it on a 45-degree angle like the scraper plane blade, and I put that hook on it with the burnisher and put it in the handle, the Pro Prep handle, and it really didn't work. The angle is not the same. So all I did was, I don't know if you can see that, it's a little bit steeper, this Pro Prep is. I needed to increase that angle a little bit. So I just measured this with a bevel gauge, and it's 22 degrees. So then all I had to do was take this is an old mop handle, I think, and take it over to my chop saw and cut it at 22 degrees. And what's nice about these Pro Prep blades, they have the holes in it. Now these are machine screws in the Pro Prep handle, so I just used a couple of small wood screws, and it's been holding great. So that's really all there is to it. And you just take and cut this mop handle at 22 degrees, mount that blade. And they still sell these. I believe they still sell these online, these Pro Prep blades. They might be under a different name. Sears used to make them. But I don't know if Pro Prep's still in business or not, but I'm sure you can get those blades. They really work nice. And what I did was I ground this to 45, and I used, instead of on this one here, I use my my Veritas honing guide to get the 45-degree angle on there, and my surface plate with some sandpaper on it. What this is, the nice thing about this is the screws are recessed, so I just set my table on my bench grinder here to 45, and I'm able to sharpen it. And one thing you have to keep in mind is I try to put a small arc on this like I do when I sharpen scraper blades. I put that small arc on it. You don't want these edges higher than the middle, so I kind of arc it across there. So that's the first thing. I'm not going to sharpen it because this is still cutting, but I take it on here and just run it back and forth, and then I take a little diamond stone, I guess, and I flatten out that hook that's already on there in between sharpenings, and then I'll hit it again on this, and then I'll take it over and burnish it. And at first I was just doing it by hand like this, and then I found it was easier just to kind of lay this, put that in a vise, wood vise. Okay, my memory card ran out on me. I was just about to say that to get a more consistent hook in this blade, I just take and clamp my burnishing tool in the wood vise here, and what I'll do is I zero it out on that 45 degrees, and then I go about 5 or 10 degrees off of that, and then I just kind of rock this back and forth, that blade, and that does it. So I'll take it over to the boat and get one more shot scraping this wood here. Oop. I'll try to get behind it so you can see. See how that cuts? So it's a pretty quick, safe way to take material down. And it stays sharp. I'm pretty impressed with how long it stays sharp. So that's it. That'll do it. That'll do it for the video on how to make a small fairing scraper. Okay? Okay, one thing I wanted to clarify. When I mentioned that I cut this handle on a 22-degree angle, that would be 22 from vertical or 68 from horizontal. That's where I came up with that angle. I don't have that scraper plane in front of me right now, but that's what it is. It's 22 degrees from the vertical. All right?